I'm guessing most people remember the balloon of Trump, or at least heard about the balloon of Trump that was going to be flown in London when he was in the city. Sadiq Khan, the mayor, personally approved it, and so some people thought, well, if people can fly a big baby balloon of Trump, we should be able to fly a blimp of Sadiq Khan. And so they started crowdfunding and ended up raising £58,000, which is quite a bit of money for this, and it did indeed happen, or is going to. I'm not actually sure of the date here on when it's supposed to fly, but this is a picture of it. Notice his long and crooked nose and the very, very wonderful yellow bikini. And here is a person next to it for comparison. So you can see this is actually quite a large balloon. The Trump balloon was not this big at all. I'd say it was probably about the size of his head here. So I'd say that one side definitely made a bigger blimp. And it's funny to me because I didn't like the Trump balloon, and I don't really like the Sadiq Khan balloon. But the Khan balloon is actually pointing out something that needs to be pointed out. The Trump balloon is just childish, and this is pretty childish too, don't get me wrong, but it's forcing him to stick to principles. If Sadiq Khan is fine with people flying a Trump balloon, then he must be fine with people flying other unflattering balloons. And that is what they've done. They've forced him to do this. Let's read the article here. He was accused of putting a dampener on Donald Trump's visit to London last month by allowing a giant balloon of him dressed in a nappy to fly over the Capitol. It was not that giant. I don't have a picture of it here. I probably should have went and got one, but it was really not that big. This is much bigger for sure. But now Sadiq Khan is to face his own humiliation as protesters prepare to launch an inflatable showing the London mayor dressed in a bright yellow bikini. It should have been him as a pig. That would have been more offensive, but I guess they didn't want to quite go that far. Organizers raised more than £80,000 online to pay for the blimp of Mr. Khan following the furor over the 20-foot balloon dubbed Trump Baby. This was granted permission to rise above Parliament Square during the U.S. President's visit last month. The inflatable depicting a bikini-clad Mr. Khan, which is slightly larger than its rival at 29 feet. Okay, I guess it was bigger than I thought. I take it back. 20 feet to 29 feet is not as big a difference as I thought. I think maybe it was a picture from farther back. It definitely looks smaller in comparison to the people next to it, but apparently this one is, it's 9 feet bigger? So it's about a third bigger. Still bigger, but not the difference I thought it was. Will be flown Westminster location Saturday morning. So I guess it's already been flown. Kind of sad. It would have been funny to see at least. Yanni Brewer, the 20-year-old marketing manager behind the effigy, said he had been angered by the mayor's focus on political point scoring instead of dealing with soaring crime. Yeah, I'd be pretty annoyed too. Yeah, London is now one of the most violent cities in the West. It has a higher murder rate than New York. It apparently is the acid attack capital of the world. People are still running trucks into crowds of people. They've had to set up, they beautified their streets with all these nice barriers, blocking the cars off from people on the sidewalk. Something that thankfully isn't here in Edmonton yet, but I'm sure will be eventually. Now stabbing is on the rise. They don't have guns there, so they're just stabbing each other instead. So kind of proves the point that weapons aren't really the problem. It's the people who are killing others that are the problem. Alberta has a very high firearm ownership rate. Like, I know a lot of people with guns, especially those who don't live in big cities, and the murder rate's quite low here. So, yeah, kind of interesting, isn't it? Whatever anyone thinks of Mr. Trump, he is still leader of the free world and should be accorded the respect of that position, especially at such a critical time for the UK as we face separation from the EU. Yeah, it is a really silly time to be flying a blimp of Trump. It's like your biggest prospective trade partner, you're going to anger them while leaving the EU. This does not seem very intelligent. It feels like the mayor of London prioritizes personal enmity over the good of the country. Well, he's a leftist, so yeah. The design of the inflatable showing Mr. Khan just... sorry, I take that back. Not everyone on the left is like that. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that, because there are people on the right who are just as bad. That is true. Pundits and people who are just completely biased are bad no matter what side they're on. I apologize. The design of the inflatable showing Mr. Khan dressed in a bikini pokes fun at one of his first decisions upon taking office when he banned adverts on the London Underground that promoted an unhealthy body image. Interesting. Oh, here's the Trump balloon. It really doesn't look like 20 feet to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just... I'm not sure why. I think maybe because these people are on the way, so I was using them as a comparison to the balloon as opposed to the people who are right under it. That would make sense. It followed a row over a billboard poster showing a woman in a bikini that asked, "Are you beach body ready?" Yeah, the horror of an attractive woman who's in good shape in a bikini. Oh my god. Mr. Brewer said, "It's ridiculous that he talked about the importance of freedom of speech when he gave permission for London to insult the President of the United States while imposing censorship himself upon the lives of ordinary Londoners." Good point. He would never have given permission for that balloon if it ridiculed Barack Obama. I don't know, maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. I think that's probably true, but... See, now that he gave permission to the Trump one, he has to give it, so... this is why I think this is less childish than the first balloon. It is certainly still childish, but when you're trying to hold someone to keeping the same principles and making the same judgments in an unbiased manner, then yeah, okay, this is more acceptable. It feels like freedom of speech only applies if you have views deemed acceptable by our governing bodies. It's Sadiq Khan. Get out of here. What I wanted to put to the test, as well as providing a voice for those in despair at crime statistics in the capital since Khan took charge, which are widely up since he took charge. He's done a terrible job of dealing with crime in London. But he couldn't really turn this down when he'd made such a big deal of Trump. Mr. Khan today made light of the inflatable depicting him. He told ITV News, "If people want to spend their Saturday looking at me in a yellow bikini, they're welcome to do so. I don't really think that yellow is my color, though." Okay! That's a good response. That's the correct response. It's still funny, but ahead of Mr. Trump's visit, Mr. Khan defended his decision to allow the balloon of the U.S. president, saying, "I shouldn't be the arbiter as a politician of what is in good or bad taste. What's important is to be peaceful and for it to be safe." Okay, well, if you're not the arbiter of what's in good and bad taste, then why are you censoring things in the public underground? So clearly you don't believe this. And frankly speaking, the idea that we limit the rights to protest, we limit the rights of free speech because it may cause offense to a foreign leader is very, very slippery slope. I agree. Although I would take out the foreign leader part and instead just say we limit the rights of free speech because it may cause offense. Is very, very slippery slope. It doesn't matter who the offense is caused to. It just doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. But it does, as it turns out. But it shouldn't matter. So I don't see why the foreign leader part is necessary at all. It simply doesn't matter who it offends. It could offend Christians, Jews, Muslims, white people, black people. Doesn't fucking matter. Mr. Khan added, "The UK, like, in fact, the US, has a long and rich history of the rights and freedoms to protest, the freedom of speech, and freedom to assemble. In fact, these rights were born in the UK, so you should stop treading on them. Can you imagine if we limited free speech because of somebody's feelings might be hurt? My God! What are you talking about?" I don't understand. If this is how you feel, then why are people being arrested for things they say on Twitter? Mr. Khan, after being told to basically, criminalize these things because you want people on Twitter to not be mean to your group. Oh, you said something mean about Muslims. Okay, you're going to prison. That is the response of the UK police. But you have the gall to say, can you imagine if we limited freedom of speech because somebody's feelings might get hurt? Your level of hypocrisy is just beyond anything that we usually see. So, I don't know why you're even bothering to say this. What he should have said was, haha, if they want to do that, I don't think yellow's my color, but it's their thing. They can do what they want. That should have been the end of his statement. Because the rest of his statement is just hypocritical bullshit that he doesn't actually believe in. So, I don't know. This is kind of a silly thing for him to say. Anyway, that's about all for this one. Just thought I would bring this one up. It is a pretty funny looking balloon. Would have been good to see, but, living in Canada makes that not very easy. Well, have a good day.